Welcome back, pro wrestling fans. Welcome back, IWC. Welcome back to Chaos Corner with your old buddy, the Guardian of Chaos. And I tell it like it is. I'll say that to say this. Welcome to Guardian of Chaos, the YouTube channel. Follow me on all social media platforms, and you know what they are. Over on X, aka Twitter, at Big Daddy GOC. And the GOC stands for the Guardian of Chaos. You can catch me there in real time. Follow me on Instagram, the Guardian of Chaos. On Facebook, there's 2 accounts, that's right. I have 2. J Brony, just like it sounds, Jabroni, J Brony, and Prodigio Fidelis El Guardian in honor of my heritage. Follow me on Gitter, Gab, Truth Social, Rumble. I cover it all because it's me. It's the GOC. Sit back and relax. As I said, welcome to Chaos Headquarters. It's been a little bit. It's been a minute. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, get us in the algorithm. One man, unique, unedited, unscripted, raw dog. No paywall, no Patreon, no super chats, no Zen or Cash App or PayPal. It is what it is. It's free because it's me, the GOC. Stay close to your family and friends in this crazy times here in 2023. Tomorrow's not guaranteed to any of us. Thank you for being here from the bottom of my heart. I want to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. He's coming back soon. Don't be caught dead without him. So kick back and enjoy story time here at Chaos Corner. And if you see me, come out, say hello, shake hands. Let's take a photo. Remember what they say, take that picture. And I'll say this before we jump off all these other social media platforms and come back here to Guardian of Chaos, the YouTube channel, the mothership, if you will. I love you all. I thank you all from the bottom of my heart. Let's keep it real. Come on back. Don't you dare miss it. All right, fans. Thanks for coming back from all those other social media platforms, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart about staying close to your loved ones, those that mean something in your life. Repent, be a good person, treat people the way you want to be treated, and let's enjoy what we have left. Stay aware, stay focused. Let me get off that platform because it is story time, storytelling with the Guardian of Chaos. We have a little bit more lighting, a little bit more of the adjustment of the sound system. So I can't thank you guys enough for being here. It's the beginning of the week. Let's stay focused. Life on the Road, Chapter 4, The Ringman. I had often wondered what it would be like to travel on the road and interact on a more personal level with the wrestlers. This is coming from a referee, the ringman's point of view, my old buddy, Dave Dwinnel, as we continue with the book review of the Ringman. Go back, check the channel here, over 2.2 thousand videos. We're coming up on 325,000 total views twice. So I can't thank you enough. And you'll see that I did the beginning of the Ringman. You guys aren't going to want to miss this. I know Dave personally. We've worked many matches together. Dave was usually the referee. He has quite the illustrious background. Go back and check out the forward. It's really a brief history of professional wrestling in the USA. I broke it down here on the channel. It really is something by Dave Dwinnel. 32 years in the surreal world of pro wrestling. All right, from the referee, on the road. And you know I could relate because, Dave, I should have got you when I had the chance to get you in the ring. It was great seeing you at the class of 2023 New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame fan induction, induction ceremonies, and then at the Fan Fest 8 the next day. Dave Dwinnel. The year 1983 afforded me just such an opportunity. In the 80s, Rich Mancuso and Jody McDonald co-hosted a popular wrestling show on WFAN, Sports Radio 66, WFAN, New York. A staple in my listening through the late 80s, all through the 90s, into the early and mid 2000s. Probably until I stopped listening to the fan, probably within the last half dozen or so years. It's really changed. God bless Imus. Mike Francesa, Mike and the Mad Dog, I listened to for years. Imus, as I said, as a staple, his sidekick. Charles McCord, and of course the late great Bernard McGurk. Those were the days here in the greater New England tri-state Northeast area. And Rich Mancuso and Jody Mack, who I still stay in touch with now and then today personally, especially Mancuso. It was something in the early 90s, even the late 80s with the show on WFAN. So I figured I'd throw out the jingle. But when WFAN was WFAN, Coleman and the Soul Man, Mike and the Mad Dog, Imus, you guys get it, right? Steve Summers. I mean, who could forget all these guys? Rich Mancuso, Jody Mack. I mean, and I'm missing a few others. Richard Neer's been there for years. Who was the overnight guy? I can't remember his name right now. Unbelievable on the overnights. I could picture him with glasses. How could I forget him? He recently retired probably within the last 3 to 5 years. It'll come to me. My mind is like a lazy Susan. It'll come back around. Let me get refocused here as we go to Chapter 4, Life on the Road. The Ringman, referee Dave Dwinnel. Flashback to the 80s. Rich Mancuso, Jody McDonald, WFAN. The first all-sports talk radio station in New York City. Rich and I would often chat before wrestling events and sometimes go out to dinner afterwards. During one of these post-match repasts, Rich asked if I would have any interest in traveling on weekends with a brand new promotion, Northeast Championship Wrestling, NCW. And my answer was a resounding yes. And that's why fans, you come to Chaos Corner and the connection of this channel. My over 50 years of being a fan, a scout, a historian, an agent, if you will, a smart, a mark, that's right, I said it, a mark. And my over 3+ decades as a pro wrestling manager, taking the bumps in the ring, tag team champions, single champions, traveling all across this country, announcer, color commentator, commissioner. That's the connection you get here and why the Ringman. Dave Dwinnel refereed probably well over 20 or 30 or maybe even 50 of the bouts that I've been involved with. Rich Mancuso, we follow each other today, and we were supposed to hook up in the front offices of the NAWA out of New York, where Rich and I would be working in the front office, myself as commissioner, and Rich as a part of broadcasting, and Rich and I we're going to broadcast together. This was as recently as 3 or 4 years ago, but you see, that's a persona non grata, right? But nothing to do with Rich and I. So, and then, of course, I've talked to Jody Mack many, many, many times, being from this area, in the shadows of Titan Tower. So you guys, that's why you're here, for the connection. A lot of people say, well, why do you talk about, when you come to this channel, remember, it's not only a guardian of chaos bringing you what you want to know of history, WWE, AEW, the current product, the past product, book reviews, my own personal footage, but the connection with me to the people that I talk about with the product that I'm presenting to you, and making it relatable to you from this point of view, bringing you into my home, my bunker, my offices, my dojo, the executive room, the lounge. I can't thank you guys enough. And I hate to use these words, but that's a shoe. I think we'll get on to Life on the Road. We're almost 10 minutes in. Little Brugos Espresso. No, they're not sponsoring me. The only true sponsor that I really have, who's consistently there for me, and it's a product that I use just about every damn day, whether it's on my shoulder, my knee, my back, it works. And that would be Mr. Hempel-Stilskin over at Sweet Heel CBD. That's right, Sweet Heel. Balms, tinctures, oils, lotions, edibles. It really is an incredible product. Locally grown, locally owned, legally licensed. It doesn't get any better here in the greater New England tri-state Northeast area and across the country. They were one of the first in this area, the Constitution State, if you will, branching out all throughout this area. Mr. Hempelstiltskin, Sweet Heel CBD, sweetheel.com. Don't you dare miss it. Use it for everything, anything. Purity, clarity, lifestyle. That's what it's all about. Thank you, Mr. Hempelstiltskin and Sweet Heel, for constantly being there for the GOC. That's right, it's me. Again, I get off on a tangent, but that's why you guys are here. I have to talk about Sweet Heel CBD, sweetheel.com. It's an unbelievable product of CBD. I can't say it enough. CBD. Do your research. Do your homework. You guys will know what I'm talking about. Again, shout out to Mr. Hempelstiltskin. Again, we're trying to get back to WFAN, Jody Mack, Rich Mancuso, the Ringman, Dave Dwinnel, and of course the GOC. Sit back and relax. One more sip. I've been trying to get to the gym lately, so I'm definitely sore. So shout out to the personal trainer of the GOC. Oh, wait. That's me. So, of course, Northeast Wrestling is a promotion I work for both different groups. NEW of today in the last 25, 30 years, which is Michael Lombardi, a.k.a. Mike O'Brien, a.k.a. Michael Lombardi, Northeast Wrestling. And then, of course, the original with Tom Jeanette in Northeast Championship Wrestling. And then, of course, there was many other shoot-offs, but those are the originals, and that's why you guys are here. I worked for both promotions for many years. Great guys, looked out for me, promoters, paid me well, gave me creative control, but again, I was loyal anyway. But let's get back onto Dave Dwinnel. So Dave says yes to Rich Mancuso to traveling with Northeast Championship Wrestling. Now, Northeast Championship Wrestling, as we know, and I've said it here before on the channel, was founded and promoted by Tom Jeanette. That's what I just said. Which was in existence from 1983 to 1993. 10-year span there. They were big here in the area with Tom Jeanette. Well-respected man from the music business, and Tom Jeanette was an incredible promoter. Not to be confused with the newer version that started up in 1997 and is still in existence today here in 2023. And I believe it might have been 96, but we'll go with 97, and that would be Northeast Championship Wrestling. NCW was based in Central Connecticut, and its promoter, Tommy Jeanette, intended to run 3 weekend shows twice a month throughout the Northeast. Rich said that he would be happy to put in a good word for me. Isn't that what it's all about? Social networking, connections, who you know. It's got to be, that helps. But it also has to be because of your merit, your talent, your experience. I'm just telling you from my own personal experience. Yeah, it's good to know people in social network and get them to know you in a personal atmosphere. That only gets you so far. I can't speak for 2023, 2022, these last several years in the big time, and rumors and the BS that we see that happens in the front offices and locker rooms. Not so much in the WWE, but certainly in AEW. And then you can throw in Impact, MLW, and the NWA, New Japan, Ring of Honor. There's a lot going on in the business, and the independents are huge. That's right, I said huge. Rich said that Tommy Jeanette would be happy to put in a good word for me. About 2 weeks later, Tommy phoned and offered me a shot at the referee spot. His intention was to only use one ref. He inquired if this would pose a problem, which I indicated it wouldn't be. Hey, listen, you're trying to get into business. That's what it's all about, right? Besides giving me a stipend for my work in the ring, he would pick up my hotel room and throw in a little extra for gas. As far as food was concerned, I was on my own. Again, remember the days and times and earning it and being on the road. I can speak from that. I originally had tried to start my training around 83, 84. You guys know I had a second stint of learning and tried training again 88, 89, but didn't make my debut as a manager until 91. but so I can relate to the time period. Remember where we are. We're going back to the middle, late 80s into the early to middle 90s and late 90s with Dave Dwinnel and the Ringman. And we worked together as recently as in the early 2000s, which we'll say the last 15 to 20 years. Long retired since then, guys, okay? Except still broadcasting and commentary. Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling. You guys know that. Back to the Ringman. I indicated I wouldn't have a problem. Besides giving me a stipend, as we said, you're lucky to get that kind of stuff. I remember traveling all over, Iron Mike Sharp, Rocky Jones, Gino Caruso, different promotions, trying to talk to Burt Prentice and Randy Hales, and dealing with Harley Race and Dusty Rhodes and Dreamer and everybody from J.J. Dillon to Jim Ross and everyone on in between. I can vouch for that and about what you're getting paid or not paid, even with local independent promoters. And you wonder where the Carney thing comes from. You can't get really offended by those words, whether it be Mark, Jobber, Carney. You can't get offended by those terms, especially if you're an OG in this. And I understand the business, for as much as it's the same, it still has changed. And I've always said this, you can change the names, but you can't change the game. You can change the game, but do you understand what I'm getting? You understand what I'm trying to say? The game changes, but it doesn't really change if you put that into perspective. I know I'm bouncing back and forth, but I know that you understand what the saying and what I'm talking about. Having no idea what to expect the first weekend of who might show up and who might be on the show, I left for Valley Regional High School in Deep River, Connecticut, of all places. Prior to the advent of MapQuest or GPS navigation systems, my only travel companion was my trusty old ESSO road map, or the Rand McNally, as I would like to say. Not being good with directions, I always planned to arrive early and grab a quick bite to eat before driving to the event at the building. That night, the window of the local restaurant happened to have a large wrestling poster displaying wrestler photos and the night's card. I could relate to this. This is what you do. This is how you pay your dues. Even the current crop of young guys that I know still can relate to this because they're willing to get out on the road. And that seems like it's coming back in 2022, 2023, heading into 2024. A lot of these young guys and workers and grapplers realizing they want to get out. They want to travel. They want that experience because they've learned from the people who have come before them, carpenters. You can't get to where you're going, even where you are, without recognizing where you have been. And that's not saying getting stuck in the past. That's not saying stay there. It's not being, it's respect, and it's recognizing, looking back, reflecting, and then that'll get you to where you are. And then it's looking in the front windshield, full speed ahead, hit the gas. Always remember about that back there, though. Alexa, listen to this. Play some Tropical Thunderstorms, please.
Playing specific songs is only available with Amazon Music Unlimited. Here's a station based on a majestic tropical thunderstorm by Music for Deep Sleep.
I don't want to go to sleep. Alexa, play Tropical Thunderstorm sounds. That goes along with the story time. That seems to be the weather lately, right? Thanks for bearing with me, guys. I do appreciate it. Again, we're here in the 80s with Dave Dwinnel, the Ringman book review. I'm not sure if I'm going to put this into a first part, a second part, life on the road. I can relate to it, connect to it, live to it. This is all folks and grapplers and talent from our era, this era, what we cover here. So it really is an excellent read, something that you guys are going to want to check when it comes to different perspectives of the pro wrestling business, although similar to the talent that's in the ring. That's why it's relatable. And plus, it's somebody that I know, so I can relate to the story. I used to do the same thing. Get there early, MapQuest. I used to tell the guys all about it. You'd have directions on a piece of paper. You'd lucky if you get it from the promoter, call somebody. And that's how you'd get your directions on a piece of paper. There was no GPS. There was no cell phones. It was what it was, and hopefully you made it and you showed up, and we did. I mean, I could attest to that. And even into the 90s, late 90s, the same concept. There was what I learned that show's main event was a tag team match pitting Professor Toru Tanaka, someone called Hillbilly Cousin Luke, against Ted Arcidi and Abdullah the Butcher. It appeared that the only face in the match was the Hillbilly. I didn't realize that Tommy was using Tanaka as a face. Also appearing would be NCW champion, the unpredictable Johnny Rodz, Charlie Fulton, Pretty Boy Larry Sharp, as well as ladies champ Misty Blue and Linda Dallas. Someone unknown to me named the Cheetah Kid was the only other name on the poster. Think of the time frame, the time period. Working with independents could be a challenge, as one never really knew what to expect. Upon entering the school's assembly building, I noticed that the ring had a professional bunting with the words Northeast Championship Wrestling on all four sides. A ring apron for those that didn't understand what I was talking about. The ring actually belonged to the Cheetah Kid, a.k.a. Ted Perry, who would go on to be known Rocco Rock, Public Enemy. Honored and gracious to be able to work with those gentlemen as well. Who years later would become known as Rocco Rock, one half of the very popular Wise Guy tag team Public Enemy. In those days, not all promoters owned rings, so they rented them from anyone who had one. Cheetah owned a few and was thus able to earn some side money on the rentals. Ted was the first person I met that evening, and one of the nicest. He always seemed to have a smile on his face, and we were to remain good friends until his untimely death in September of 2002. Opening the show with his high-flying antics, the crowd-pleasing Cheetah Kid would set the table for the rest of the evening's matches and all future Northeast Championship Wrestling shows. Ted Petty worked with Ted in a couple of different matches, one in particular with the late, great Chris Candido as well, and the Equalizer from ECW, and Pat Tanaka from the AWA and Bad Company. That's right, BADD, and then the WWE and the Orient Express, and so on and so forth. So very good days and fond memories there in the late 90s. As we go back on the road, entering the back room, I noticed a man dressed as if he were going to a prom rather than a wrestling show. Wearing an expensive business suit, a silk necktie, and a matching handkerchief stuffed into his pockets. That's what it says here, pockets. Where might I find Tommy Jeanette, I asked. Brother, you found him. Tommy was a good dude. He was always nice to me, gave me a shot and a chance, and believed in me as well. So big shout out to Tom Jeanette. After introducing himself, he offered to introduce me to some of the key people in his organization, including one I well remembered from my first day on the job. He said, "Dave, have you heard of Johnny Rodz?" Who hasn't, right? Johnny is my business partner and talent coordinator. Over here, running around, is Hank Dearson, our on-site coordinator who handles lighting, sound, and keeps time for the matches. The locker room coordinator is getting dressed over there. His name is John Petit, better known to wrestling fans as Hillbilly Cousin Luke, who I've also worked with and been on several events many times back then. Small world, but I wouldn't want to paint it. I was beginning to wonder if this was a wrestling promotion or a Fortune 500 company. It was quite different from any independent promotion I'd ever worked with. Tommy's shows were crisp and clean, always featuring background music while the fans were entering the building, and a national anthem at the beginning of every event. Unlike many other promotions at the time, there were no dead spaces between his matches. An entrance and exit music was always used for each wrestler. Something that was not common back in the early and mid-'80s, especially among the independents, of course, until the fabulous Freebirds, thereabouts. Another fellow I was introduced to that evening was the creator. No, not God, but a fellow named Carmine DeSpirito. My old buddy Carmine. Carmine is good man, Carmine DeSpirito, whose stage name was the creator. Dressed in all in black with a powder-puffed face and a good book in hand, he looked like a young Undertaker. Carmine was the editor-in-chief of the popular wrestling magazine, The Wrestling Eye, back in the 80s and the 90s, and he's still active today as the promoter of Lucha Americana. Now remember, Dave's book was released, I think, within the last couple years. When Johnny noticed me in my ref outfit, he walked over, gave me a big hug, and said, "Welcome to the NCW, kid." He obviously remembered me from the country center. And I assume, well, wait. The county center. And I assured him that I had improved greatly since that cold December night back in White Plains. Worked at White Plains Center before. Unbelievable. Worked with Jeanette and Johnny Rodz back when Johnny was doing all this. So it brings back for myself here to GOC at 25 minutes in a flood of memories. It really does. Reading this book, it's like walking a parallel here, because this is only the second time that I've read Dave's book here, to Ringman. So it really is something. It's like it's reading to me and speaking to me. Most of this stuff I don't even have to look at it because it's so similar. So it's a refreshing look if you fans really want to get an inside look that you won't get on a lot of other channels and podcasters who've never been in the ring or been a part of a storyline or done anything or been on the road, and that makes a big difference. So thank you, Dave Dwinnel, for bringing back these memories again here for the second time. And again, being able to work and know all these legends, and that's why the personal connection, and that's why my home is Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling, because I've known, Mario Mancini and Paul Roma for well over 35 years, and Big Steve Tracy for many, many years, and Paul Perez has become a very close confidant over the last decade or so. So it really is the folks there. So you can relate to all this, and they are friends with guys like Johnny Rodz, brothers. So you see where it comes into play here, and that's what you get here on this channel. He then sat me down and gave me a crash. This is Johnny Rodz talking now. He then sat me down and gave me a crash course in refereeing 101, something that would cost me around $2,000 today. Let the guys work. Don't be too fast to break a hold. Don't get in the way. And don't favor the face or the heel. Always be neutral. Never forget that it takes 3 to make a match. A bad ref can kill a good match, and a good ref can save a bad match. And that applies to, especially, obviously, those 3. The 2 workers or the tag team that's in there, the referee. And then after that, you throw in the manager, the ring announcer, the bell keeper, the valet, gorilla. You see the hierarchy. It really is like the mob. So unbelievable advice, fans. You won't learn that anywhere else unless you get this book or you come to this channel. Okay, and I'm going to do this probably in 2 parts, probably 2 half-hour parts of Life on the Road. You're really going to enjoy this. I know we get a little fogged back here. It's still early. I'm on the espresso, but bear with me because it really is an unbelievable read. The evening with Johnny's sage advice in my ears once again, I worked as hard as I ever had, with the hopes of becoming a permanent part of the Northeast Championship Wrestling family, Tom Jeanette's NCW. With only 1 match left and no major glitches as yet, what could possibly go wrong? The final event of the evening was the main event, pitting someone I had always enjoyed watching as a youth, Professor Toru Tanaka, Konnichiwa, bitches, and his tag team partner, Hillbilly Cousin Luke, against Ted Arcidi, that's right, the strong man, and Abdullah the Butcher. Despite never having worked with any of these 4 individuals, I knew Abdullah's reputation as being totally unorthodox and unpredictable in the ring. His chaotic style had become legendary throughout the wrestling world. Seeing him up close made me believe that Maestro Rand McNally, the roadmap, had fewer lines on it than Abdullah's forehead. Abdullah's lines were actually scars caused by years of self-inflicting juicing. Razor cutting. At that time, wrestlers who wanted to go the extra mile to make the match go over, he would tape a small piece of razor blade over a fingernail, And when the match reached a crescendo, they'd scratch their foreheads, digging in with the blade. Although many believe that these wrestlers, almost always the heels, received juicing bonuses. Was that a Freudian slip there? Let's skip over that part. It's just rated PG. I never saw evidence of that. To this day, I believe that these guys just wanted to give the audience an experience that they'd never forget. Although not a promoter, I figured that having 4 huge men in one match was probably not a good idea, especially since this ring was the smallest one I'd ever worked in. As the match progressed, my prediction bore out as things beginning to get out of control, with more and more of these giants in the ring at the same time, leaving virtually nowhere for the ref, me being Dave Dwinnel, the ringman, to stand, attempting to restore order to the chaos. How about that? Thanks for the rub, Dave Dwinnel. Proved futile, especially with the fans eating it up and egging the wrestlers on. At this point, Arcidi suddenly jumped out of the ring and grabbed a chair. Meanwhile, Tanaka and Abby were going at it in one corner of the ring, causing it to tilt and shift to that side, almost collapsing and tipping over. Ted was now back in the ring and hitting Luke with a chair. These are normally carried out using the cushion side of the chair, but amidst of all the madness, Ted clipped Luke's ear with the side of the head with one of its legs. Blood immediately started gushing down the side of the hillbilly's head like a small waterfall. Abby's eyes were as big as grapefruits when he saw the river of blood. He seized the opportunity to ad-lib this scene. Abdullah really is something. Rolling out of the ring, he grabbed the bell from Hank, climbed back in, and started working on the head of Luke, hitting it with the heavy bell and forcing the blood to come out a little faster. Running over, I stood quietly to Abby. "What the hell are you doing?" I said. He stared at me with a puzzled look on his face, with a half smile, and said, "Good for business, brother. Good for the business." It's a terrible Abby impression. "Listen, Mr. Butcher," I said. "It might be good for the business, but it doesn't do much for Luke's head." Tommy ran back to the locker room to get Johnny, and I called for Hank to ring the bell since it seemed like the only logical thing to do. When no ring was forthcoming, I yelled once more, "Hank, for God's sake, ring the damn bell." That's when I saw that there was no bell for Hank to ring. It was firmly planted in Abdullah's bandaged hand. I informed the 4 madmen that the bout was officially over as Johnny Rodz and some of the other wrestlers finally hit the ring, separated the combatants, and escorted them back to the locker room. They continued to fight along the way. Standing to the center of the ring, covered in blood, sweat, I was joined by Tommy, who was also functioning as the ring announcer. Tom Jeanette was really an unbelievable guy. He seemed very confused and asked which team had actually won the match. The crowd, which was still at a fever pitch, became deadly silent as Tommy announced the following. "Ladies and gentlemen, referee Dave Dwinnel has disqualified all 4 combatants and ruled this bout a no contest. There is no winner." Fans, Part 1. Dave Dwinnel, the Ringman. Life on the road. Coming right back. Don't you dare miss it.